BFDI has never been known for its endings. That's partially because of J&J's old habit of starting new seasons before the previous ones wrapped up, but even after seeing 3 finales before BFDIA, they've all been a bit polarizing and aren't talked about as legendary, insane, god tier, or elite episodes. It's not like the season finale of any show needs to be the best episode, but those previous final episodes haven't been the cream of the crop, and with the release of BFDIA 25, we now have a real hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby situation on our hands. Like, recency bias be damned, She Deserves This is a banger finale that pile drives those previous ones, so let's talk about why the past final episodes fell short to understand what this finale does so well, because this is how BFDIA delivers a stellar finale. We open with the show's first ever season finale, and BFDI 25 is a strange one to talk about. Real quick though, I should tell you my thought process when thinking about any season finale of any TV show. Say I was talking about a regular episode, like, I don't know, Spore Day. All I'm thinking about is the typical stuff that makes an episode good or bad, but if Spore Day was a season finale, then things get a bit tougher to judge. You gotta consider if the episode's climactic, if the conclusion is earned, and if it leaves you content with the whole season. Now, as a regular episode, Spore Day isn't held to this higher standard, but I'd say it's really damn important for a season finale to be satisfying. And to me, Return of the Hang Glider is in a weird spot of being a meh episode, but a bad season finale. Now this is not a diss on base BFDI, because like every OG episode, you gotta respect the effort, given how young Michael and Carrie were. But man, there are a lot of spots where this episode stumbles, with the biggest one being how there isn't any suspense with the winner reveal. Having an extended Cake at Stake song, comically long amount of time panning over this big ass crowd, and learning who each contestant wants to win is a good foundation, but then we just instantly know that Bubble got 3rd, Leafy got 2nd, and Fiery won. The anticlimacticness of it all is for sure intentional, with Bubble pointing out there was no drum roll, but intentional does not equal good. And I don't think this wet fart of a reveal was a good choice. With Fiery being crowned the winner though, we then start to see some cracks in the episode itself, with how the progression becomes very aimless. Stuff like Woody, TB, Match, and Snowball getting abducted, and Flower destroying all the recovery centers kinda just happens, along with Leafy stealing Dream Island after Fiery locks her out, in a conflict that feels super forced. I think we can all agree that the "get me out of this thing" Ferris wheel moment being the cause of this series-defining event is really dumb, and I'd be way harsher on it if the Fiery and Leafy plotline didn't go in some genuinely good directions in BFDIA and post-split. We don't have any of that good stuff here though, so it remains a knock against the episode, but on the topic of good stuff, there are some things I like. We still have that classic BFDI humor, the speaker box lore is pretty neat, Fiery saving Leafy makes for a good final scene that links to BFDIA, and honestly, if BFDI 25 was just a regular OG episode, I'd be way less miffed about it. Its failings as a finale are just hard to ignore, turning a whatever episode into a low tier one, and between this and Insectophobe's Nightmare 2, I wouldn't be surprised to learn that Michael and Carrie were struggling to end the season. You still gotta respect the effort, but Return the Hang Glider ends up as a weak finale that doesn't do anything special to have a strong impact, which we should keep in mind when talking about what BFDIA does so right, and when going into the problems that BFB 30 has. It's another tricky episode to discuss, and to use a metaphor, Chapter Complete is like a house of cards. It looks impressive from afar and takes effort to make, but collapses under any bit of pushback, which the episode definitely started to get once the recency bias honeymoon period ended. Some people still like it, others call it one of the worst episodes in the show, and while I wouldn't go that far, there are definitely problems, starting once again with the winner reveal. We still get everyone saying who they're gonna root for, but I hope you weren't expecting more build-up, cause Flower just wins immediately. Bubble doesn't even bring attention to how lousy the reveal is, like in BFDI 25, and honestly I'm shocked there wasn't any attempt to make the crowning of the winner of a season 4 years in the making any more climactic. At least the episode isn't aimless once Flower wins though, because we then split into 2 showdowns, with Purpleface stealing the BFB and 4 on the run, which is a structure that works in theory. I really like how Flower and Gelatin are split up, with Flower getting to have the spotlight on the bus, while Gelatin gets focus on the sun, but the structure is a bit muddled by how both showdowns have messy execution. Starting with the bus, Purpleface doesn't work as a threat we're supposed to take seriously. Now I'm a Purpleface defender, so I don't mind him having more attention, but BFB29 does a poor job at setting up him snatching the BFB, and he hasn't been portrayed as a genuine villain since BFB23, which makes the whole bus conflict feel a bit like filler compared to the 4 turn the goddamn sun blue issue that Gelatin and his crew are dealing with. Both plotlines don't merge before the climax of the episode either, and that leaves the bus half of the cast on the sidelines for that main climax on the sun. And as for what goes down in said climax, Gelatin calling out 4 for mistreating everyone almost works. Again, I appreciate that he gets a big moment as the runner-up, despite not being a big fan of him, but Gelatin's blow-up doesn't feel earned since the episode is very wishy-washy on how the cast is supposed to feel about 4. He definitely needed to be called out for the BRB and his moments of cruelty, but there's a big difference in 4's brutality between splits, and by trying to tie a bow on the whole season, the show struggles to give pre-split Psycho 4 and post-split doesn't want to be rejected 4 the same ending. Like Gelatin says they're mad at 4 for his cruel hosting, but also they're sorry for rejecting him, yet also says that everyone totally liked him the whole time and had fun during all of BFB by showing these random clips. It makes no sense, like bro's just saying shit, and the show hopes that the scale and all of this climax will stop you from realizing that this resolution wasn't properly built up, which I'd say is the core problem with BFB 30. Like, there is potential with 4's backstory, the structure, and the ending scenes of the party, followed by Fiery and Leafy sailing into the sunset, but if you look at the episode as a whole, and you take a moment to think about how the rest of BFB led into it, the house of cards collapses, and you're left playing 52 pickup with a deck that almost makes a good finale. With all that being said, you might be surprised to hear that I still think BFB 30 is a more successful finale than BFDI 25, cause it at least tries to make an impact, but ends up as very messy. It's important to remember that many of its problems are shared by post-split in general though, like 4's development and Purpleface being overused, and compared to early post-split, I can appreciate how the episode attempts to bring the whole season together, but it still needs a lot of work on the character and structure side of things to be a truly strong ending. So with BFB done, it's time to finally talk about BFDIE. Now, I really don't have much to say about Escape Nightmare Island, hence why sticker is small as hell in the thumbnail, cause the episode doesn't do anything too outstanding, yet it does work fine enough as an end to the season. To start, we have an actual challenge to determine the winner, at least in universe, which lets the episode front flip over the anticlimactic problem that BFDI and BFB ran into. I also love the location change, like having the challenge on Nightmare Island gives the episode a very distinct look with the red sky and dark landscape. It's giving Mario Lava World vibes in the best way, but other than the aesthetic, I really don't have much to add on this episode. The challenge is fine, the humor is good, I like the dynamics between Fern, Sidewalkie, and Sticker, the ending that connects to BFDI is fun, and while there isn't anything, like, amazing to discuss, the episode is satisfying as a conclusion to a smaller scaled season. Recency bias for sure played a part in it getting 61% of the votes in that best finale poll I did before BFDIA 25, but I do agree with the majority since it's way less messy than those other 2 episodes, despite not being anything too crazy. I guarantee it would get dusted by BFDIA if it were on on the docket though. And now that we've gone through every other finale, let's finally talk about what She Deserves This does to fix the problems that plagued BFDI's past attempts. To start, BFDIA has a built-in advantage over its competition, being that it knows exactly where to lead to. IDFB1 already exists after all, so by connecting the two of them, you can instantly make something satisfying, which this episode does often, and literally right at the start by opening with Pin regaining her limbs and turning white. From there, we focus on our finalists, and I want to comment on how Book directly says that she heard the vote was close. She casually tells Needle, but it's a very effective piece of info for the audience, aka us, to know since it builds some strong anticipation of who the winner will be. I mean, most people thought that Book had this win locked down, but knowing that the vote is close creates some doubt that stays in your mind throughout most of the episode, since unlike BFDI and BFB, the winner isn't shown right away. Seriously, I'm so confused why BFB went with that lame-ass reveal, cause it really is so much better to organize the episode like this. We still know who everyone is rooting for early on, but now the conflicts of Fiery stealing the farm chunk and Book failing to cheer up Leafy remain engaging since the competition isn't over. They may not be official challenges, but they serve the same function as one, as Book and Needle split up to take care of both the object kerfuffles. But wait a minute, you might be wondering. Didn't BFB splitting up both finalists into two showdowns create problems? Is that still an issue here? Well, no, because both the Fiery chase and Leafy case feed into each other as they stand on their own, and nobody feels shafted because they collide right before the climax of the episode, which is also when the winner is revealed. Let's not get ahead of ourselves though, cause I want to individually focus on what both of those conflicts do so well, starting with the chase. This is the big actiony part of the episode, and I think having the entire cast minus Book involved makes it feel very dynamic as Fiery flees from almost everyone. The animation is so good too. Like, shout out to whoever storyboarded, animated, or cleaned up during the whole sequence, and especially with the scene in the tall building, the one in the sewers, Fiery equipping Pin's mech suit, and the standoff between Needle and Fiery on the crane, cause you all aced it. Now I think Yellowface or the LOLers could have survived a bit longer, and Spongy gets done super dirty despite not showing up at all in BFDIA 24, and why does he actively not get included in some group shots? Like, where is bro going? But regardless, there are still a ton of killer bits during the whole pursuit. Having Ruby and surprisingly Rocky be the jokey characters who last the longest was a great choice, cause they're really funny here and make a good duo that's balanced by Queenie and Needle's determination to stop Fiery. And once Fiery is cornered, seeing him admit to Needle that he secretly wants to protect Leafy is nice, and creates a clear through line of their story that was kinda thrown off by BFDIA 21, but now makes a lot more sense. Oh, and on the topic of Leafy, let's chat about her scenes with Book. Things are much slower, but still meaningful with how their convo does a lot of great character work and organization for the episode. We have setup for Leafy hiding in IDFB, Book's kindness being highlighted with how she's the only person trying to help Leafy, and their bits connect to the chase through Evil Leafy being influenced by Leafy herself, along with how Fiery and Book are the only people trying to stop everyone else from going Danganronpa on Leafy's ass with the death penalty they think she deserves. Placing their scenes between the faster chase also keeps the episode's pace very balanced. And their last scene, being what merges both plotlines together with Book saving Leafy, is executed so smoothly. I'm really excited to see where IDFB takes them with their fleshed out dynamic, but now that both plotlines have converged, it's time to talk about our climax. This is another spot of amazing animation, with Book and Needle soaring through space, and by planting those seeds of anticipation at the start of the episode, there's been ample time for hype on who won to build up, before bursting with this cosmic reveal that ends with Book on top with a 10k difference in votes. Now I've seen Book's win be a point of contention for some people, who say her winning is bad, and ergo a bad thing about the episode, but personally I don't see it that way for a couple of reasons. Firstly, as someone who voted for Needle to win, I still like Book, especially in her conversations with Leafy this episode, and I see her win as deserved deserved, if a tad obvious. Even if I hated her though, I don't think finales should necessarily be judged by their winners. That's why I haven't gone in depth on Fiery, Flower, or Fern, cause yeah, they win in the finale, but deciding if their wins are good or bad is based on the whole season, and not just the last episode. All this is to say that I don't think Book's victory is a good critique of BFDIA 25. However, I do have one of my own, being that Evil Leafy could have been utilized more. Not to go on a tangent, but I've always seen her more as a force of nature than a character, not just cause she's a leaf, but because she always has the same angry expression with the only goals of gluttony, possession, and spreading chaos. Having a confirmed connection to Leafy's emotions is interesting, but her role feels very samey in this finale, and I think the fight she has with Needle in BFDIA 24 would have been a cooler send-off since outside of aura farming with the farm chunk, she doesn't get anything fresh. I guess IDFB can expand on her more, but I don't know, Evil Leafy not getting a new ability or something else to stand out beyond her usual in the season finale is a missed opportunity for me. Alright, tangent over, cause after Evil Leafy dies and Book wins, the episode starts to simmer as we head towards our conclusion. This is where we get the most IDFB connections, with everyone returning to Yoyland, Fiery being put in the cage, Needle having a secret that involves Free Smart in the museum, and Leafy becoming metallic again to close the curtain on BFDIA. It's a really strong ending that, by flowing into IDFB, achieves exactly what it needed to do and becomes a satisfying and stellar ending. Like, I mean it when I say there's no competition between this and the other finales, and seeing how high the bar was set makes me question how Teapot will try to conclude things. Back in mid-April, the Defeat 1 trilogy of episodes was announced, and it feels a lot like they'll be the climax of the season, despite how we're currently heading into the final 11. I mean, there's a chance that the title is lying and one won't be defeated, or there could be another antagonist after one, like, oh no, we gotta deal with Evil Pencil, but realistically, I doubt there will be a new major threat, which makes me unsure what direction the following episodes of Teapot will take, and by extension, how J&J plans to end the season. It's hard to make any predictions right now, but I'd personally want to see Teapot take itself less seriously once everything with one wraps up. And no, this isn't some weird, secret, Teapot is angst slop take. I just think the charm of early Teapot's lighter tone is underappreciated and could make for some fun, character-focused episodes in a similar vein to the taco stuff in pre-split, or development Jacknjellify has given characters like Pin, Needle, and Book in these last few BFDIA episodes. No matter what happens though, I hope they'll take the same approach that BFDIA did to be fulfilling, since She Deserves This does everything it needed to do. Through its great organization, build-up, character focus, humor, and success at being satisfying, BFDIA 25 stands head and shoulders above every other finale. Is it the best episode of the season? I personally like some mid-season episodes, along with Shattered and Say Hijack a touch more, but remember, a season finale has no obligation to be perfect. All it needs is to be at least good and satisfying, and for a season that was nearly 14 years in the making, BFDIA 25 does just that. That's all I gotta say. If you haven't, please subscribe, like, hype, share, hit that bell, comment if you have any thoughts, and thank you for watching.